Hi everyone, Peter here from Flow High Performance, and in this video we will cover how to individualize exercise selection to maximize muscle growth. First, let's explain why exercise selection should be individualized in the first place. This entire video series so far has focused on what exercises may be a better or worse choice for muscle growth with relatively fixed binary recommendations. However, the reality is that each individual is slightly unique in some capacity. While a certain training style or exercise may result in greater muscle growth for the majority of people, it is possible that this may not be the best training style specifically for you. Even when we look at research interventions, there is often quite substantial variations in the individual response to a particular protocol. So even if two people perform the same training program, one trainee may see a better hypertrophy response than another. This could be due to one individual simply being more responsive to muscle growth than another, or it could just be that the particular program used was not ideal for one trainee and another protocol may have induced greater gains. So while the overall principles are usually quite similar for most people, there is definitely an aspect of individualization that can dictate the hypertrophy response to different training interventions. Therefore, for the rest of this video, we will cover what factors may influence individualization of exercise selection and how these factors may impact muscle growth. The first factor which may influence exercise selection is individual variations in anatomy. Structures like joint size, muscle insertion points, bone lengths, and muscle fiber pennation angles can all differ quite substantially between trainees. These anatomical differences are likely to influence what exercises may be more or less suitable for certain people. For example, the muscle fiber orientation of the pec muscles may make incline or flat pressing exercises to be more or less effective. Another example is that a trainee with long femur bones may prefer to perform a leg press as opposed to a back squat for quad development. Another factor to consider for exercise selection is individual context of the entire training program. Each trainee has a different training program and slightly different training goals. Therefore, the exercises implemented should reflect these goals. For example, a trainee may implement a low bar squat instead of a high bar squat because they want to maximize strength of this lift. Even though this is probably not the best choice for hypertrophy, it makes sense within the context of their specific goals. The next factor to consider is individual joint tolerance. Some exercises naturally feel healthy for some trainees, and some exercises tend to cause more joint irritation. This may be due to anatomical variations, training history, injury history, or perception of pain. In this context, trainees should select exercises that don't cause significant joint stress, even if they may not be the ideal choice. There are no mandatory exercises for hypertrophy training, so it is always best to stay healthy and maximize the stimulus within your constraints, rather than to seek the fallacy of optimality. For example, a trainee may prefer to perform incline dumbbell pressing over a flat barbell bench press because it causes less joint irritation. And the last primary factor that may influence individualized exercise selection is personal preference. Simply put, if a trainee enjoys a certain lift, then they may want to include this into their program, even if it may be less effective for muscle growth. This is fine as long as you understand the trade-off that you are making and are happy to do so. Furthermore, we are likely to put in more effort if we enjoy the exercises we perform, and this may make the training program more effective in the long term. So with all other factors being equal, trainees should preference the exercises that they enjoy the most. For example, a trainee may enjoy performing conventional deadlifts. As we discussed in the previous video on stimulus to fatigue ratio, conventional deadlifts are probably not the best choice for hypertrophy training as they are highly fatiguing and provide not the best muscle growth stimulus. However, if a trainee enjoys this movement and understands the trade-offs, then they may include conventional deadlifts anyway. So to conclude this video series, let's summarize with some practical recommendations. First, we should understand that there are no mandatory exercises for hypertrophy training. We can achieve equal muscle growth using a variety of different exercises. While we have general principles that may make certain exercises more or less effective for most people, there will always be individual variation between lifters. Therefore, trainees should probably start with the general concepts that were discussed in the video series, but also experiment with a range of different movements to find what suits you best. Then, based on your individual feedback and response to the exercise, you can start to find what exercises seem to be the most effective. This process should consider factors like anatomical variation, personal context, joint tolerance, and exercise preference. Thanks for watching, and hopefully you got something out of this video. Remember to subscribe if you haven't already.